Hello there, a very good morning to you. Thank you plenty for staying with us on the paper review segment of our daily broadcasting here at Niger Live Television. My name is Henry Ahamuefula, and let's start you off this morning by telling you what the Daily Monitor is reporting, and that's around insecurity. It says, go after bandits, other criminals until they are eliminated. That's a charge that's coming from the Chief of Defense Staff. He orders troops on that. As he also commends the troops for their resilience, courage, sacrifices, and also says Nigeria must be made safe at all cost. Well, if you check above that particular story, you find a story around Kaduna and bandits demanding 1 billion naira on Ariko Easter abducted worshippers. That's a story that's contained on page 8 of the Daily Monitor. And on page 4, ADC denies talks with PRP, affirms commitment to legal battle. Page 4 also has a story around the oil fields dispute with court, the missing suit against Petroleum Minister, NUPRC and EGF. NCC, CBN sign pact to boost consumer protection and curb fraud is a story that's contained on page 12 of the Daily Monitor paper. When you check out that particular paper, you find out that there is a photo, right? A photo on the paper, and that's around the protest. They're carrying placards here, and well, they're protesting. But if you also check beneath that story, you see another story around Bala and Baba Ahmed, who is saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is disconnected from Nigerians' hardship. By the way, Baba Ahmed is the national chairman of the People's Redemption Party, a party that's been rumored to, want to welcome the ADC and its members, to use a platform to contest the presidency and every other elections. But Baba Ahmed is saying that Tinubu is disconnected from Nigerians' hardship, and also says that Nigerians are more insecure and hungrier and even more desperate now. That's coming from Baba Ahmed. And away from that particular story, let's check out the Vanguard paper, which also continues the report on insecurity with the story that many terrorists, 3 soldiers are killed in Kwara gun battle. This is as terrorists evacuate dead colleagues in military armored vehicle, and 11 are killed, scores injured in Plateau Benue attacks. There is also rescued jam candidates that's saying that they were beaten with cutlasses, giving an insight into what their ordeal was like when they were kidnapped sometime last week, right? CDS tasked troops to crush terrorists and ensure lasting peace. Police arrest 42 illegal miners over fresh abduction of Kwara monarch. That's a story you're getting of the paper this morning. Another story on the paper is around police pensioners protesting in Abuja and blocking villa access route. On page 9 there's that story. On page 35 has a story around 2027 with APC pegging presidential form at 100 million naira and primary to hold May 15. This is in view, of course, of INEC's directives and deadline. At best, May ending. Every political party out there ought to have conducted their primaries, right? But 100 million naira, many are raising concerns around this. It means that presidency is not for that person who even an early millionaire, right? You have 100 million naira, you cannot even be thinking of contesting the presidency to them, because you give 100 million naira to the party, then the money you use for printing your posters and the other campaigns you need, come on. So you typically would need a lot of money to contest for president in Nigeria. That's what the APC they're saying, pegging their presidential format 100 million naira, by the way. Well, Senate seat, Ogun East APC leaders endorse Abiodun Bar Daniel is a story that's on page 10 of the Vanguard paper this morning. Alleged money laundering court admits more exhibits against ex-AGF Malami, son and wife is a story that's contained on page 6 of the Vanguard paper this morning. Allow me also check out the Daily Sun paper, which also is reporting on the bloodbath in Plateau, Benue, Kwara State. Soldiers, others are killed and injured in fresh attacks. Remain protests in Rayom community. And CDS visits troops, pledges renewed effort against banditry in Zamfara. Gunmen kill driver, abduct passengers in Orebini Expressway. These are very gory photos we saw yesterday on social media. A video even where these pictures were out there, and a gory scene to behold, really, especially for those persons who must have witnessed that. But that's the story you're getting off the Daily Sun paper this morning. Above that particular story and beneath the nameplate of the Daily Sun paper, states debt hit 4.36 trillion naira, and 10 states are leading with 2.9 trillion naira. That's a story you're getting on the Daily Sun paper this morning. It says Nigeria's subnational debt burden deepened in 2025, and this highlights mounting fiscal pressures across states as governments leaned more heavily on borrowing to sustain spending and plug revenue shortfalls. You get details of the story when you get a copy of the Daily Sun, and it continues on page 25 of the Daily Sun paper this morning. A story that's side by side. The Daily Sun nameplate is around Boko Haram daring federal government over 416 victims in Borno. And the writers to that story, Kaduna Easter Day attack, kidnappers demand 1 billion naira ransom. So it's like 6 billion naira ransom that has been demanded as per what the papers are reporting today. Some 6 billion naira ransom from Borno to every other state that's been affected by this recent insecurity, recent spate of kidnappings across Nigeria. Right. Also check out another story that's contained on page 24 of the Daily Sun paper. Refinancing risks rise as Nigeria's debt nears 180 trillion naira. We will not see a Nigeria where our children will be the ones paying off the debts we are accumulating today. Well, ADC youths also telling Amopitan on the Daily Sun, they say you are an umpire, not a hired hitman. That's what they say on page 6. They also has a story of the party denying talks with PRP and affirming commitment to legal battle. I had mentioned earlier that PRP is rumored to be a platform like that. Certain members of the ADC are looking to go into. This is the ADC here denying talks with PRP and affirming commitment to legal battle. The revelation of these talks, is something that had come from Hakim Baba Ahmed, who is the national chairman of PRP, when he had appeared on national television. Well, the parties here denying that they have such talks, and they are focused on their legal battle, which, by the way, a hearing for that particular case is scheduled for sometime tomorrow, right? Not just that particular case, that of the PDP as well. Hopefully we see, the resolutions come up pretty soon after the hearing. Well, on page 9, Enugu women demand senatorial slot, and the INEC chairman unveils report of forensic investigation on partisan export. It's been a thing on social media, on conventional media. It's been the talk of the town, as a matter of fact. And there's the INEC chairman that's unveiling that report on a forensic investigation that was conducted into the said account that has been rumored, to belong to him, and that talk that he's partisan, and he's one who's been written from Tinubu even before he was appointed as INEC chairman. So a forensic investigation was carried into the particular account, and they have revealed that the account is not Amopitan's, and he has never held an X account. However, many persons have also drawn concerns from this particular story, saying that there has to be an independent investigation into that by a body that's been confirmed by, many as independent, and not something that has, not a body that has ties with INEC, or INEC itself doing such evaluations. That's what the Daily Sun is reporting this morning. And away from that, I'll check out the Nigerian Tribune this morning. On page 16 has a revelation into how ADC presidential candidates may emerge, and the source is saying that United Opposition Movement is to midwife consensus option. Is this anything to go by? If it is, a sad commentary really for our democracy, many would say, because the questions would then arise. When we talk about the consensus candidate, how much of democracy does that entail? How much of democracy does that entail? The constitution deciding to go for either consensus or the direct primaries, and also removing that particular indirect option right there, bringing in the consensus option. The consensus option, really, how much of democracy does it make for? Sources saying that United Opposition Movement, ultimate midwife, consensus option. That's the lead story of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. I'll check out another story around there. PDP crisis, Speaker calls for committee on reconciliation is on page 16 of the paper. CBN wants banks to unlock $1 billion monthly diaspora inflow by year end. That's on page 6 of the paper. And forensic report reveals Ahamuefula has no X account. INEC says that's on page 2 also of the paper. Well, a story that's of interest around health says air pollution raises cancer risk by 11%. A global report warns. I like to think that any government really means well, especially around the Niger Delta, where we have this air pollution, where it's really big, not just air pollution, water pollution, a lot of pollution, but particularly the air pollution they're referring to here. Any government that really means business and really has the interest of the citizens would perhaps have set up some sort of a cancer center at a research or a cancer care center. I know that there was a time that the state by also was looking to set that up, Gold Coast Cancer Research Center, if my memory serves me right. That was supposed to be situated somewhere in Sabama local government area. And that was during Dixon's administration, by the way. What is the state of that particular facility? Is it fully operational, or are they still struggling to come up, to be fully functional? Well, I like to think that per this report, we should really take cancer seriously, especially because we are one of those states that are really at a high risk of developing these, given that we have a lot of air pollution happening in Bayelsa State and much of the Niger Delta. On page 2 of the paper, APC presidential candidates to emerge May 16. And NWC fixes governorship primary for May 23. That's a story you're getting off the paper this morning. Tinubu approves 15 billion naira takeoff grant for new police academy campus in Ogun. Page 4 has details of that story right. And check out the Daily Trust paper. INEC clears chair. Ahamuefula must go protest swell. Above the nameplate, 2027. Obi Kwankwaso supporters launch OK movement. Well, this is ahead of the ADC convention. Would Obi Kwankwaso, would Obi emerge? Would Atiku emerge? Would it be Amechi that's emerging? Would it be, well, I mentioned Atiku, Obi, Amechi, and these are people who are looking to, to clinch the ADC ticket, when their convention holds, so when the primaries rather hold. And well, there's also a story around that. Asked to WAEC exams, FCT teachers down tools. And the story around the APC primaries beginning May 15 also is contained there, with the party also pegging the presidential form at 100 million naira. Alrighty. The protests by retired police officers are also on the Daily Trust paper, and that's around the pension scheme. This it says that police retirees take protests to Villa. What is their grounds? They want to be removed from the contributory pension scheme. They say that's fraudulent. They say that does not help them at all. And so, well, they took their protests to Villa. If you've been following the story, you must have also had that court and fight that will usually happen when they try to access certain places that typically authorities don't want them to access, and they will have be contesting with their contemporaries. Those police officers who are currently serving, barring and sometimes even hitting retired police officers, and that this protest largely is to the benefit of them as well as the police officers who are currently serving. Page 5 of the Daily Trust. 3 soldiers, 12 others killed, passengers abducted in Kwara and others. Tinubu approves new police academy campus, 15 billion naira takeoff grant. And again, a revelation into what you need to know about new BVN rules. Do you know much about that? There's a revelation into what you need to know. Let's check out the Guardian paper real quick. Politics overshadows governance as National Assembly observes 93-day recess in 2026. How many days do they have to sit? And well, we have a 93-day recess. And that's a story that the Guardian is reporting on page 6. Party leaders intensify contingency moves as ADC denies PRP talks. The bulk of the stories on the papers are around politics and insecurity. Insecurity really is a lot on the papers, yet politics trails it. Police pensioners take welfare protest to presidential villa. That story also makes it to the Guardian paper this morning. Pretty much similar stories, right? We've seen in other papers. So let's leave the Guardian real quick and see what the Punch is reporting. APC imposes 2-week deadline for presidential, governorship and National Assembly form. So they only have like 2 weeks before the primaries would hold in May, right? Well, that's the way the Punch is reporting the paper this morning. Yeah. First nameplate, fresh turmoil in PDP as Wike camp rolls out primaries plan. Case is in court. Supreme Court is built to hear the case tomorrow. Yeah. Well, the parties are going on a sieve. Well, page 2 of the Punch has that details of that particular story for you. Over 4,600 Nigerian doctors relocate to UK in 3 years. A report reveals that, and they're still having that particular thing, brain drain. We're exporting our talent. Okay, let me leave the Punch paper real quick and see how much of the New Telegraph we could torture before we call it a wrap. The New Telegraph paper reports around terrorists placing 6 billion naira ransom on victims abducted in Kaduna and Borno, and also the Middle East crisis with oil prices rising as Iran rejects new talk. Iran says they're not in for that kind of talk where it seems as though the president of the United States is playing a kind of game on them. If you're looking to talk properly, they want you to come out and talk properly, but not that particular thing they say Trump is doing. Or pages 2, 3 and 4 get you details into that particular story right on the New Telegraph paper. The Nation paper, APC presidential governorships primaries fixed for May 15 and 23. I already mentioned that right in the papers. APGA plans primaries for May 23. Pretty much all of the political parties are planning their primaries to hold before the end of May. Per INEC directives. Why IG's panel on state police gave 60-month timeline is also a story that offers insight on page 3 of the Nation paper this morning. Alrighty. That's pretty much the papers we could take, and that's where our curtain will fall on this edition of the papers. Do stay with us. We'll bring you the Globe in View in a moment. My name is Henry Ahamuefula. Do also remember to follow us on all our social media handles at Niger Live TV, or visit our website for stories, www.nigerlivetv.com. Again, Henry Ahamuefula. Do have a beautiful, beautiful morning.